You wake up and feel that something has changed. It's nothing obvious, nothing you can point to with certainty, but there's a strange sensation in the air as if the world kept turning while you stood still. The notifications on your phone have dwindled. The WhatsApp groups that once exploded with messages now feel like digital graveyards. You scroll through your feed and see your friends posting, laughing, living, but when you comment, the silence is deafening. It's as if you become invisible overnight, as if someone pressed a button and erased you from the social map of the world. At first, you blame yourself. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you said something inappropriate. Maybe people just realize you're not as interesting as they thought. You go back through old conversations, searching for clues, for signs where everything fell apart, but you find nothing. And then comes the panic. That visceral sensation of abandonment that cuts deep, that makes your chest tighten, and your mind race in 1,000 directions. You try to reconnect, send messages, make calls, propose meetups, but the answers are vague, polite, distant. And deep down, you know, you've been erased from a map. But what if I told you this erasure isn't accidental? What if this forced silence, this loneliness that feels like a cruel punishment, is actually the most loving intervention the universe could make for you right now? Tonight, we'll uncover the hidden truth behind involuntary isolation, the reasons why certain souls are systematically removed from the ordinary flow of life, and why this disappearance, as painful as it may feel, can be the gateway to a version of you that the world isn't yet ready to meet. The first reason the universe erases you from a map is because you're going through a symbolic death, and deaths don't happen in public. Just as a caterpillar must completely dissolve inside the cocoon before emerging as a butterfly, you are undergoing identity decomposition that can only take place in the absence of witnesses. Who you were is dying. The masks you wore fit in. The edited versions of yourself you present to the world. The roles you played to be loved, accepted, validated, all of it is falling apart. And this process is messy. It's confusing. It's terrifying. You cry for no apparent reason. You feel bursts of anger toward no one in particular. You sink into a deep melancholy that you can't explain. Some days you don't recognize the face staring back at you in the mirror because the person you thought you were simply isn't there anymore. And the universe knows that if you were surrounded by people right now, they'd try to save you. They'd try to pull you back into who you used to be to convince you to go back to normal, to medicate you, to fix you. But you don't need to be fixed. You need to die so you can be reborn. Isolation is a protection that ensures this metamorphosis happens without interruption, without well-meaning rescuers stopping you from crossing the threshold of transformation. When you disappear from the map, you gain the dangerous and necessary freedom to fall apart completely, knowing that no one is watching, no one is judging, no one is trying to put you back together before it's time. But there's something deeper happening, something most people never notice. When the universe erases you from a map, it's removing you from collective energetic fields that were draining your life force. You don't realize it, but every social interaction, every casual conversation, every superficial encounter connects you to an invisible web of expectations, needs, and projections. People see you in a certain way, and that perception creates a magnetic field around you that traps you in a limited version of yourself. Your friend sees you as a funny one, and every time you interact, you feel the unconscious pressure to be funny even when you're not in that space. Your family sees you as the responsible one, the reliable one, the problem solver, and that image creates an invisible weight you carry without realizing it. Your coworkers see you as a competent professional, and you mold yourself to that expectation, repressing parts of you that don't fit that narrative. The universe removes you from these energetic webs because they're keeping you from accessing your true frequency. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while 10 others are playing at the same time. The signal becomes distorted, confusing, impossible to hear clearly. The forced silence is the universe turning off all the other stations so that you can finally hear your own broadcast. At first, when the noise stops, you feel lost. You wonder who you are without all those voices telling you who you should be. But wait, because in the quiet, something begins to emerge, a voice you haven't heard in years, maybe ever. Your voice, not the version you crafted to please, impress, or survive, but the raw, unedited, terrifyingly honest voice of your deepest self. Now, here is where things get really interesting, and please Pay close attention, because this may make you rethink everything you believe about human connection. The universe doesn't erase you from the map just to isolate you. It does so to prepare you for connections of an entirely different quality. The relationships you used to have were built on superficial compatibility. You liked the same things, went to the same places, laughed at the same jokes. But those connections, as comfortable as they felt, were keeping you anchored to a level of consciousness you've already outgrown. When you disappear from the radar, you are being recalibrated for a new relational frequency. You are learning to connect not through shared interests or geographic convenience, but through soul resonance. And these new connections, when they finally arrive, are so deep, so transformative, that 5 minutes with these people will nourish you more than years spent with those you've lost. The universe knows that you cannot find your true tribe while you're still attached to the tribe of convenience. So it breaks all the old ties, as painful as that may be, to create space for the ones that truly matter. And yes, you will feel lonely during this transition. There will be nights when you question whether it's worth it, when you wonder if it wouldn't be easier to just go back to how things were. But you can't go back. The door has already closed behind you. And even though you can't see it yet, a much greater door is opening before you. If you're still watching and something inside you recognizes your own journey in these words, leave a comment right now saying, "I'm being recalibrated." Leave that comment not just so I know you're here, but so the universe knows you are aware of the process, that you're saying yes to transformation, even when it's uncomfortable. And if this video makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because we're going to dive even deeper into the mysteries of spiritual awakening in the upcoming videos, and you won't want to miss any of these revelations. But let's keep going, because there's another reason the universe erases you from a map, and this one is rarely discussed, even in spiritual circles. The universe removes you from social visibility because you are being trained for a mission that requires temporary anonymity. Think about the great spiritual leaders, visionary artists, innovators who changed the world. Almost all of them went through a period of obscurity, a time in the desert years of relative anonymity, before emerging with their message or their work. Jesus spent 40 days in the desert. Buddha meditated beneath the Bodhi tree, far from everyone. Muhammad retreated to the cave. Newton developed his most revolutionary theories while in isolation during the plague. That's no coincidence. It's a universal pattern. Certain realizations, certain levels of clarity, certain downloads of consciousness can only happen when you are off the radar, when no one is paying attention to you, when there are no expectations, no audience. Only then do you finally have the freedom to explore the strangest and most radical territories of your own consciousness. You can think thoughts that would scare people. You can experiment with practices that would seem insane to others. You can question everything, especially the things you always considered sacred. The universe erases you from the map to give you a secret laboratory where you can become who you need to be, far from the critical eyes, limiting opinions, and projections of others. And hey, erase what's fascinating. Many of the people being erased from the map right now are being prepared for roles of leadership, creativity, or healing that don't even exist yet. The universe is training you for something the world doesn't yet have a name for, something it doesn't yet have a category for, something it doesn't even know it needs. That's why the training must happen in secret, in silence, invisibly, until you're ready, and until the world is ready to receive what you have to offer. Now, let me tell you something that might sound strange, but stay with me, because this is crucial. One of the most hidden reasons you disappear from the map is because your energetic field has become incompatible with the dominant collective frequency. You've literally begun vibrating at a different frequency, and that difference creates an invisible friction in your social interactions. It's not that people consciously decide to avoid you, it's that being around you has become uncomfortable for them in ways they can't articulate. Your presence exposes their illusions. It challenges the comfortable narratives they've built around their lives. When you walk into a room, even without saying a word, your energy now carries a frequency of truth, authenticity, and questioning that makes people shift uneasily in their seats. They feel the need to defend themselves even though you haven't attacked. They feel they have to justify their choices even though you haven't judged. Your mere presence has become a mirror that reflects back to them the parts of themselves they'd rather not see. And that's why they pull away. not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. They're simply not ready for the journey you're on, and the universe, in its infinite wisdom, honors that. It doesn't force anyone to evolve before they're ready. So it gently removes you from their orbit, not as punishment for you or for them, but as an act of compassion for both sides. You receive the space you need to continue your journey without being pulled back. They receive the comfort of not being constantly confronted with possibilities that still frighten them. It's a temporary separation, and who knows, maybe one day you'll meet again at different frequencies, ready for a new kind of connection. Or maybe not. And both possibilities are perfectly fine. But here is where it gets truly profound, and I need your full attention now, because this next insight might completely change the way you see your current solitude. When the universe erases you from a map, it's creating an intentional vacuum in your life, and nature abhors a vacuum. The empty space created by the absence of all those superficial connections, all those social distractions, all those commitments that once filled your calendar, that space will not remain empty. It's being prepared to be filled with something infinitely more valuable. But first, the old must be completely cleared out. Have you ever tried to pour water into a glass that's already full? Impossible. You have to empty the first glass. The universe is emptying yours. And yes, for a while, you'll feel hollow, as if something vital has been ripped away. You'll look at your empty calendar, your silent inbox, your quiet weekends, and part of you will panic. You'll want to fill that vacuum with anything, any distraction, any connection, even a shallow one, just to avoid feeling the emptiness. But resist that urge, because the vacuum is sacred. The emptiness is fertile. The silence is pregnant with possibilities you can't yet imagine. In the coming weeks or months, as you honor this empty space instead of trying to desperately fill it, strange and wonderful things will begin to happen. Ideas will appear out of nowhere. Insights will wake you up in the middle of the night. You'll feel creative impulses you haven't felt in years, maybe since childhood. Synchronicities will multiply. The right person will show up at exactly the right time. The perfect opportunity will appear in ways you never expected. The universe was simply waiting for you to create enough space for these gifts to enter, and they could only arrive after you were erased from the map, after the old baggage was removed, after the sacred void was honored and respected. But there's something else that needs to be said here, and it might be hard to hear, but it's necessary. Part of the reason you were erased from the map is because you were using social connections like a drug as an anesthetic to avoid facing deeper truths about yourself and your life. Every notification, every like, every message, every invitation was a small dose of external validation that kept you addicted to the approval of others. And when you're addicted to external validation, you never develop internal validation, that inner anchor that is the only thing that can truly sustain you through life storms. The universe, like a loving but firm parent, took the drug away from you, not to punish you, but to force you to develop something stronger, something real, something lasting. In the first days and weeks after being erased from the map, you'll go through withdrawal symptoms. You'll check your phone compulsively, waiting for messages that never come. You'll stalk the social media of people who seem to have forgotten you, looking for signs that you still matter to them. You'll fantasize about dramatic comebacks, moments when everyone realizes the mistake they made by abandoning you. That's normal. That's the addiction dying. But if you can get through this withdrawal phase without falling back into old patterns, without begging for attention, without lowering yourself to win back people who have already moved on, something miraculous will happen. You'll discover that you don't need them. You'll discover that there's a well of strength, peace, and wholeness within you that never depended on anyone's approval to exist. You'll wake up one day and realize you haven't checked your phone for hours, that you haven't thought about the people who left for days, that you are genuinely happy and fulfilled in your own company. And when you reach that point, when you become internally validated, self-sufficient in your own approval, something interesting happens. People start reappearing. But now, you see them differently. You can tell which connections are genuine and which were purely transactional. You can see who loves you for who you are and who only loved you for what you did for them. And now, you finally have the strength and clarity to consciously choose who deserves access to your energy and who doesn't. If you've made it this far into the video, congratulations. You're among the few with the courage to face your loneliness and find meaning in it instead of just pain. Do me a favor, now leave a like on this video. Not just because you enjoyed it, but as a symbolic act of saying yes to your journey. Yes to your transformation. Yes to everything you are becoming, even when it's scary. And after you leave, you're like, share one thing, just one that you've learned about yourself during your time of isolation. It doesn't have to be deep or eloquent, just honest. Because when you share your truth, you give others permission to do the same, and together, we create a community of awakened souls who are no longer afraid of solitude because they understand its sacred purpose. But we're not done yet, because there's one final reason why the universe erases you from the map, and it might be the most important of all. You're being prepared for a meeting, not with another person, but with yourself, with the you that exists beneath all the layers of conditioning, beneath all the social masks, beneath all the survival strategies you've built over the years. That self, your true self, has been in exile inside you for so long that you probably don't even remember what it looks like, how it sounds, or what it truly wants. Throughout your life, you were taught to suppress that true self in favor of versions that were more acceptable, more convenient, less intimidating. And it worked for a while. You managed to fit in. You managed to be loved. You managed to survive. But now you've reached a point in your evolution where the cost of suppressing your true self has become greater than the cost of expressing it. And the universe knows that. So it creates the conditions for this meeting to finally happen. It removes all distractions, all witnesses, all excuses. It locks you in a room alone with yourself and says now you will finally meet. And this meeting isn't gentle. It's not a movie moment filled with emotional music and warm embraces. It's uncomfortable. It's confronting. It's like looking in the mirror after years of avoiding your own reflection and finally seeing every scar, every wrinkle, every ounce of accumulated pain, but also all the beauty, all the strength, all the wisdom you've gained through suffering. In the silence of your isolation, you'll have conversations with yourself you've never had before. You'll ask questions you've always been afraid to ask. You'll admit truths you've always denied. You'll cry for losses you never allowed yourself to grieve. You'll feel anger for injustices you always minimized. You'll acknowledge desires you always judged. And through all that painful but necessary process, you'll begin to build a relationship with yourself based on radical honesty, deep compassion, and unconditional acceptance. That relationship, that meeting with your true self, is what the universe was orchestrating all along when it erased you from the map. Because until you truly know yourself, until you completely love yourself, until you absolutely trust yourself, you can never offer that kind of presence and authenticity to anyone else. You'll always be searching in others for what can only be found within. And that endless search keeps you trapped in cycles of disappointment, codependence, and shallow relationships. The universe is breaking that cycle. It's forcing you to stop searching out there and finally start searching in here. And when you find what you've been looking for within, when you become your own source of love, validation, and wholeness, something paradoxical happens. You finally become ready for genuine, deep connections with others. Because now, you're no longer seeking from others what you lack, you're offering to others the overflow of what you already have. And that's a completely different foundation for relationships. It's the difference between begging and giving, between neediness and abundance, between dependence and healthy interdependence. So, hey, erase what I need you to understand before we finish. If you've been erased from the map, if your friends have disappeared, if your connections have dissolved, if you're watching this video alone in your room wondering if anyone in the world still cares about you, I need you to hear this. You were not abandoned. You were chosen. Chosen for a journey that most people will never have the courage to take. Chosen for a transformation that most souls avoid lifetime after lifetime. Chosen to emerge from the other side of this darkness as someone so radically authentic, so deeply awake, so unshakably anchored in truth that you'll become a beacon for others still stumbling in the dark. The universe doesn't erase people at random. It erases those who have important missions, crucial messages, gifts the world desperately needs. But those gifts must be refined in the fire of solitude before they can be shared. Those messages must be crystallized in silence before they can be spoken. Those missions must be understood in the dark before they can be lived in the light. So trust the process. Honor the silence. Embrace solitude not as punishment, but as the sacred space where miracles are formed. Document your journey. Write, draw, create. Because everything you're going through right now, all the pain, all the confusion, all the transformation will become the raw material for your future medicine. The people who will one day need you, who will be healed by you, inspired by you, transformed by you, are the people who are going through right now what you are going through. And they will need to know that it's possible to walk through this dark night of the soul and emerge not just as a survivor, but as someone transformed, not just whole, but more complete than ever before. You are being prepared to be that living proof, that witness, that transformation is real, that suffering can be alchemized into wisdom. The universe never wastes pain. It transforms it into purpose. And your current pain is the raw material of your future purpose. So hold on. Keep walking. Keep trusting even when you can't see the path, even when you don't understand the plan, even when you feel like giving up. Because on the other side of this erasure, a revelation is waiting. On the other side of this silence, a voice is waiting to be heard. On the other side of this solitude, there's a version of you the world has never seen before, and it's about to emerge. Your new beginning isn't far away. It's being forged right now in the fire of this solitude, in the pressure of this isolation, in the alchemy of this transformation. And when you finally reappear on the map, when you finally emerge from this chrysalis, the world will stop and take notice. Because you will no longer be who you were. You will be who you were always meant to be. So subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, because we're going to keep exploring the mysteries of awakening, the secrets of transformation, and the truths that can only be found in silence. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. There are thousands of us walking through the same dark night, being erased on the map, being prepared for something greater. We are the generation of awakening, and our time is coming.